splits the defense behind the back. Fires a three.
Greatest objects in sports history.
Hey guys, what's cracking? It's your boy Spencer Lane back again with another episode. Episode 6. Here we are. We've gotten past the halfway point, closer to 10 than we are to 1. And hopefully that's not the first milestone that we passed, right? But thank you guys as always for liking and subscribing to the channel and continuously watching. This week, as you can tell with my 49ers jersey on, I'm actually going to be doing a week-by-week breakdown of their schedule. I know earlier in my first episode, I put them at finishing second place in the NFC. Now with the schedule being out, I now have a chance to see if that statement has any salt behind it or if that's just a 49er faithful still wishful thinking. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Now, we could start with the preseason, but I mean, it's preseason football. Who watches, right? So I'll just say the games just out of respect. Our 3 preseason games, we're gonna be playing the Packers at home, then we're at Minnesota, and then we follow up at Houston for our 3 preseason games. Then we open our regular season up at Chicago. Now, I think we got pretty blessed with this first game, mainly just because I think that they're going to be a team that matches up for us well, as in they're not good at stopping the run, right? And that's what the Niners are known for. Kyle Shanahan, being the father of Mike Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, 2-time Super Bowl winning coach with the Denver Broncos. Kyle Shanahan loves to run the ball. If you don't watch any 49er football, he could probably take any one of us that watches this podcast or any other local Joe Schmo off the street, ask him to go put on a uniform and some pads and go get him 85 rushing yards. He's just that gifted of a schemer to get someone open and to create angles and holes for running backs to fill and follow through and get yardage off of. So I think that defensive front matchup is gonna benefit us a lot week 1. I will say though that Roquan Smith for the Bears middle linebacker, he's gonna be fun to watch. I like linebackers who are sort of sideline to sideline, almost box to box for soccer comparison. Just guys who give 100% effort, and him being really sort of the only one of the very few decent players on that defense, especially since Khalil Mack left. He's going to be doing a lot of work. He actually had the 5th most tackles in the league last year. 68 assisted, which is good for 4th most for assisted tackles. So that'll definitely be fun to see him fly around in a good opening game. Another person I want to watch out for is Darnell Mooney. He was the number 1 receiver last year, and with Allen Robinson going to the Rams, he's only going to get more touches and more yards. Just broke the 1,000-yard mark last year at a 10.55 on 81 catches, which was tied for 20th place. So he's definitely got a good amount of touches. So I'll be excited for that. The only thing I think that's going to give us a for sure edge in this game is the problem that the Chicago Bears offensive line gave up 58 sacks, which was the most in the league last year. So for Justin Fields and for that passing game, unless the offensive linemen decide to show up, it's going to be a long day for them, especially with Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead and the boys getting down there. I mean, we have one of the deepest front fours in football in terms of talent and actual genuine depth. We go 8 deep, 9 deep if we have to. We have our bench guys who can produce good. So yeah, I think that first week's going to be a pretty easy, pretty straightforward game. So I like us week 1 at Chicago. All right, now on to week 2, we have Seattle at home. So Seattle's always been an interesting team for me. Personally, I really can't stand them. My favorite color is green, and the green that they rock is fucking hideous. Pardon my French. But I just couldn't deal with them. Didn't like the Legion of Boom in 2012. Couldn't stand Richard Sherman or Cam Chancellor or Earl Thomas or Russell Wilson. Now that he's in Denver, he's tolerable now. But yeah, with all due respect, I hate Seattle. So this I actually do think and expect us to win. Just because with their quarterback issues and their offensive line troubles as well. They're definitely not one of the better offensive lines. This should be fairly easy for us. I will say though that their offense will be a little bit interesting to watch, right? With that given quarterback situation, you still have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, two good receivers. Um, Arg could be one of the best duos in football. If they're both on their note, right? DK being the big burner and Tyler Lockett being more of the slot build, getting nifty, being able to get himself open in short routes. So I think if it's Drew Lock, if whoever it may be, I think if they can bring their best to the table, I think that offense can be worth something. Because Pete Carroll, I think he's a respectable coach. I think you can get some good run production. I think he can get some good production from the running game, right? It just really depends on that offensive line. It's tough. It's a quarterback's game, but a quarterback has to be protected himself. It's kind of like the king in chess. The king is the most important piece, but the king's not going to win you the game. King's going to lose you the game. But I will say with that, I do still respect the Seahawks just because. Fun fact: they've actually have a better record than us in an all-time series. So we've been around. The Niners have been around a lot longer than the Seahawks have. But however, the Seahawks have a 30-17 record against us, which I would not have expected, to be honest. And recently, they've won the last four. So, being a division team, we play them twice a year. So, the last 2 years, they've beaten us both times. So, I don't know if it's the water, if it's some like if did they hit us too hard and we're still like sore from 2012, 2013. I don't know. It's frustrating. It's annoying. It's undeserving. But I think it's not the first time you'll see that. There's another dynamic like that too later on. I'll be talking about, which I think is kind of funny. But with all that being said, being that it's a home game, and coming off the big week 1 win, I presume we'll have against Chicago. I see us winning week 2. I think it'll be fun, like I said, to watch Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and see what's going to be happening out there. But don't think that Seattle defense doesn't have a guy or two as well. Even though Bobby Wagner left, they still have Jamal Adams, who, no matter what people want to say, on his best day can easily be one of the best safeties and players in football. So always exciting to be able to watch him. And they had one of the best, and they had one of the other top tier tacklers, and Jordan Brooks. Homie had 184 total tackles, but had 109 solo tackles, which led the league last year. 109. You don't know how much flying around you have to do? I mean, now that Bobby Wagner's gone, you'd expect his numbers to go up, but how much higher can they go up from 184? I mean, 200. I don't know how many times that's been done. That's got to be like legendary status for a linebacker. So we'll see what he does. And then Quandre Diggs. I believe he's the cousin of Stephon Diggs. There is a relation there. I believe it's either cousin or brother. Safety, the other safety, which is ironic. So him and Jamal Adams will always be a good pair to watch. Quandre Diggs, 5 picks last year, tied for 4th. So definitely someone who has a nose for the ball to a certain extent. So it'll be fun to see what Seattle bring, but too bad it won't be week 2, right? Because that'll be an L. Hang on it. Now let's go into week 3. Week 3, we're going to Denver to play the Broncos, and I think we're gonna win this game as well. It's funny, right, with the whole Seattle dynamic. Denver as their quarterback, so you think, well, wouldn't there be some problem from Seattle? Well, yes, but I also think I'm a believer in saying if Kobe and Shaq were playing in a different city, I don't think it'd be as successful. I think Kobe, Shaq, and Los Angeles all needed each other to make it work. And I think that's kind of the same dynamic here, that Seattle needed Russell Wilson as much as Russell Wilson needed Seattle. They gave up an arm and a leg to get him. They don't have a tight end. They lost some defense. They lost a bunch of picks. Um, I just I think if they didn't give up as much, I think they would have been in a better place to win more games. And I probably would rate them higher and give them a better chance to win. Um, I love the receiving core. Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy and KJ Hamler and there's another one floating from my name right now, but they have the potential there. That offensive line is suspect as well, and as long as you don't have an offensive line that I need to be worried about our defense getting pressure on, I'll always like our odds. And I don't think the Broncos are any different. It'll be fun to watch their run game, though. I mean, obviously, with Russell Wilson and those receivers, I said, they were more of a run first team last year. So you give Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams, and Melvin Gordon, who both had over 900 yards apiece last year. Um, That'll definitely be interesting to watch. I just think that they gave up too much talent, and then losing Von Miller in the middle of the season, definitely didn't help their case at all. So, yeah, I got us going 3-0 to start this off. I like them apples. Now, here's the first game of the schedule where where people are gonna either agree with me 100% or call me absolutely crazy and stop watching the podcast right here. Week 4, we play the defending Super Bowl champions, the Rams. And if you know me personally, you know, one thing I'm not worried about is the Los Angeles Rams. I don't care that they won the Super Bowl. I don't care they have Aaron Donald. I don't care they have Jalen Ramsey. We were 6-0 against them the last 3 seasons. The Seahawks have beaten us 2 years in a row. We've beaten these guys 3 years in a row. I believe Colin Kaepernick's last year he started, the Niners went 2-14. Who did we beat those 2 years? The Rams. Is it the same timeline? Kind of not really. I don't care. We have their number, and there's nothing they can do to stop us about it. And if you don't believe us, look at the stats these last 2 games. Week 10 last year, the first time we played them, we won 31-10. 44 rush attempts to 19 pass attempts, by the way. So, any Jimmy G believers out there, I hate to break it to you. No. Although he did go 15 for 19 for a buck 82 and 2 touchdowns, he had 44 rush attempts to be coupled with it. So definitely a lot of managing there. Stafford went 26 of 41, which was only 63% with 2 picks. But if you take out the targets and completions he had with Cooper Kupp, he only went 15 of 28. That's almost 50%. That's definitely not good. But the big person I want you to notice for both of these games is Deebo Samuel, because in Week 10, 5 rushes for 36 yards and a touchdown, 5 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. So that's 130 all-purpose yards with 2 touchdowns, and that Week 10 game gave us the beginning of the run that we needed to make the playoffs. Because after that, we ended up winning 7 of 9, including the last game of the week of the season being Week 18 against the Rams, where we won in overtime 27-24. Now, this game was a little bit more of a quarterback shootout. I mean, I wouldn't say both quarterbacks did phenomenal, but they were the reason that the game was, I guess, enticing to a certain degree. Jimmy G, 23 of 32 for 316, a touchdown, 2 picks. Go figure, 316. Out through Matthew Stafford by 80 yards. Don't think I'd ever say that in my life. Stafford, 21 for 32 with 238 yards, 3 tubbies and 2 picks himself. But once again, the man who made the difference, right? And of course, the hot topic for the 49ers being Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel had a passing touchdown that game, 8 rushes for 45 yards with a touchdown, and 4 more catches for 95 yards. So he had what? The passing touchdown was 24 yards. That's 130. That's 155 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. So you tell me if he's worth it or not. But I digress on that. We'll talk about that on probably another episode. But yeah, I just have us beating the Rams. I'm not sweating them. We're gonna beat them both times again, and they got lucky in the NFC Championship game. If Jimmy Ward doesn't drop that ball, and I hate to say that one play decided a whole game, because it didn't, but that was probably the biggest play altering. That was the biggest deciding play of the game. If Jimmy Ward catches that pick that Matthew Stafford flipped to him, like a bird. Man, we're probably Super Bowl champions because we're beating the Bengals too. But yeah. Enough reminiscing about last year. We definitely got the Rams this week and the next game. But week 4, we're for sure winning, so that'll bring us up to 4-0. All right, week 5, we go to Carolina, and honestly, I feel like we're getting kind of lucky with the schedule a little bit. I mean, yes, you want to argue the Denver game? I guess you're a little crazy, but okay. You want to argue the Rams game? I understand that. I just not sweating them. But 4-0 starting off, and then our week 5 game is at Carolina. I mean, I think this is a pretty straightforward win. I mean, unless the Panthers are on a roll and Robbie Anderson happens to turn into Tyreek Hill and Baker Mayfield ends up acting like he's in Oklahoma again, I really don't see this being any big challenge. Although I do like watching the Panthers. I like Brian Burns. I think he's fun to watch. J.C. Horn, the corner, is really good. It's going to be a good test for their first round pick this year. Ikem Ekwonu, say that 5 times fast. The sixth overall pick of the draft, tackle out of North Carolina State. It's going to be fun to watch him go up against that defensive line and see what he produces. But I just outside of that, and then obviously Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I don't know if you guys watch many highlight tapes on YouTube, but Bryson Tiller, the R&B artist, the first time I ever heard his music was someone made a Christian McCaffrey highlight tape to Rambo from his album Trap Soul, and oh my God. Not only was the song heat, but the cuts he were making was heat out of Stanford. Oh my God, I could watch that. I might watch that after this podcast because that's just giving me chills watching again. McCaffrey's an animal, one of my favorite players to watch in this league. So seeing him, Ike Mekwonu, and Brian Burns will definitely be fun. But I mean, other than just saying, oh, those are guys I like watching to play. I like watching play. Let's see how they do. I'm just gonna be, you know what I mean, a walk in the park. 5-0 and rolling into week 6 at Atlanta. I mean, listen, I don't. I mean, again, I don't see us losing to Atlanta. I mean, sure, the Falcons are cool, but they lost Matt Ryan, and that was probably like the one person on the team where I'm like, okay, if they have Matt Ryan, Kyle Pitts can ball, then Cordero Patterson can step up because Cordero Patterson's nice. I mean, he's got 600 rushing yards, about 550 receiving yards, 11 total touchdowns. He's definitely got sort of that versatility to him. I mean, maybe not like our version of Darren Sproles to a certain degree, right? Like definitely not the runner or not the overall, I guess, runner or true, like, yeah, I guess true runner would be the right words for it. The true athlete and running back that he is, but he's definitely got some speed to him. So it'll be fun to watch him. But in terms of the Falcons, what I'm more excited to see is that come week 6, who's the starting quarterback going to be? I mean, sure, everyone's all big on Marcus Mariota, right? Signed that 2-year, 2-year, $19 million deal, I believe. But they drafted the kid out of not Clemson. They drafted the kid out of Cincinnati, Desmond Ritter, 6'4", third-round pick. I mean, I don't see why that couldn't be a little bit of an interesting quarterback challenge. I personally like Desmond Ritter. I watched a little bit of him in college. I also watched the semifinal game against Alabama, which, yeah, he didn't look good, but it's Alabama. Not many people do, so do with that game what you will. But I think that'll be an interesting dynamic. And then AJ Terrell, a corner who I think really rised up last year. I think I remember talking about him a little bit on my first episode. Someone who I definitely am excited to watch now in person. It'll not in person obviously, but someone who I'm excited to watch now with the love and adoration. I guess that step that he took to see what the hype's all about and see if he's actually worth the conversations and all the talkings. But yeah, him and Kyle Pitts will be cool to watch. But this is 6-0, baby. I mean, I don't see. I know there's gonna be people being like, "You're crazy. You're out of your mind." I mean, outside the Rams game, you tell me how we're not 6-0. All right. Going into week 7, and this is again gonna be another Stanley Steamer. But this time we're going to this time Kansas City's coming to San Francisco for a Super Bowl rematch. Another jaded moment of mine. Gotta love it. But I got us winning this game, and the main reason is Tyreek Hill. I mean, yeah, cool. Patrick Mahomes, 4,800 yards, fourth in the league, 37 touchdowns, tied for fourth in the league, right? QBR of 62.2. QBR is based from 0 to 100. It's only for quarterbacks. Quarterback rating QBR. He has a 62.2, which is good for fifth in the league. Travis Kelce. Some people say he's the best tight end. I think they're crazy. You need to check. Not the best podcasting moment. You need to check and recognize. But yeah, no. Travis Kelsey's cool. I mean, got 1,100 yards, second most for a tight end, 9 touchdowns, which tied the most for tight ends. But I mean, my thing is that outside of Chris Jones on defense, I mean, who are we sweating out here? They lost Tyrann Mathieu, and they've never been good at defense. That was like the one guy that they signed hoping was gonna help this defense take the next step, and it didn't, to the point where he said, "Yeah, I gotta bounce. Like, thanks for the contract, but no, thank you." I will say this though, with Tyreek Hill leaving, the one interesting dynamic that I'm gonna be looking forward to is these new receivers. You got, what is it? You got Justin Ross, the rookie from Clemson, at 6'4". I know they signed Josh Gordon last year, but he's 6'3". They signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling from the Packers at 6'4", and they picked up Juju Smith-Schuster, who's 6'1". I mean, this is definitely a new presence from being known for having Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman to now you just have Mecole Hardman, but now it's going to be Travis Kelsey and another big boy. So it's going to be fun to see how this offense changes. With that being said, I do think that there will take some gelling time. I could be wrong, and Andy Reid could have the keys to the kingdom already, and they hang 40 on our head. That's sort of the way I see this game going. They're either going to drop 14 and get blown out of the water by 2-3 tubbies, or they're not gonna blow us out. But I could see them hanging 40 on us, and just we end up drowning. We can't swim with them, because when they're on their A game, that offense is A100, the best in the league, no doubt. So yeah, I got us going 7-0. How you like them apples? That brings us to week 8, and week 8 we're going to LA to play the Rams for our second game of the year. In case you don't know, each team in a division plays each other twice. So the Niners being in the NFC West, we play the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals twice, right? So I don't know if you heard me talk about the Rams the first game, but I'm not worried about them, and I'm still not worried about them. And as someone who has an uncle who's a Rams fan and has been blessed to be able to go to the Rams games when they were playing at the Coliseum at first, and now that they're playing at SoFi Stadium, I can confidently say Niner fans own that stadium. There are more red uniforms and jerseys in that stadium than there ever are blue or yellow or whatever colors that they want to pick, because they can't choose their own. Yeah, so not worried about them. Again, more great podcast content, but I don't know if you could tell, I literally wrote not worried. Just something you can't sweat when you went to a stadium for an away game and saw 75% of the crowd rock the away team. I mean, you do the numbers from there. Tell me what you think about a home game with that. With that being said, now we got week 9. Week 9's actually the bye week, so we can't win or lose that. So going into week 10, halfway through, so the first half of the season's complete. I got us going 8-0. Am I crazy? Sure. Do I care? You tell me. But yeah, going 8-0, got week 10 having the Chargers come to us, and if I see us taking this L right here, first game. Again, I have the Chargers winning the division, and I think that this is the year that they put it all together. And if you could put Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, and J.C. Jackson together, that defense is going to be lights out. And I say that being that that's what the Chargers have sort of tried to predicate themselves on the last couple of years. Like, yes, they got Justin Herbert. Yes, they have Keenan Allen. They signed Mike Williams to a big deal. Austin Eckler is a good running back for that system and is a serviceable running back himself. But they're a defensive first team, right? I mean, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. Those are the stars. Those are the people that they look at and be like, hey, this is how we're going to win the game. Brandon Staley, their head coach, he's a defensive guy. So that's definitely the approach. I think this is the year, like I said, they put it together. And I think this is going to be one of the games where they show it. Because with the Niners being one of the better defenses ourselves, I mean, and if you don't believe that, fun fact, we actually had we were actually third in yards allowed this season with only 310, and we were sixth in passing yards allowed with 206, and seventh in rushing yards with 103.5. So we're definitely a good defense. So put some respect on our name. But I just think that game's it's gonna be a game where Keenan Allen and Mike Williams just cook our corners, and it's gonna be the game where people are like, as great as this Niner team is, this is gonna be their kryptonite. If the corners can hold up, and we signed, oh my God, who do we sign? Shavarius Ward, which I'm so bothered by, and we signed some other bench warmer who's gonna go out there and be a starter because Emmanuel Mosley and a hurt Jason Verrett are our best corners outside of that, which is frustrating because Jason Verrett's an All-Pro when he's not hurt. Go look at his numbers, but he is hurt, and that's frustrating. He's like a Walmart J.J. Watt. He could be so good when he plays, but he plays 3 times a year. So go figure that. But yeah, I think the Chargers are gonna have a good year, and I think this game is gonna be like one of their defining games of the season. Being like, yeah, this is how we know the Chargers are nice because the Niners are nice and they beat the Niners. So it took us 10 weeks to finally take it out, huh? There you go. All right, now on to Week 11. Fresh off of our first loss, looks like we're heading to Arizona to go play the Cardinals, and I got us winning this game. Honestly, I mean, the Cardinals are too DeAndre Hopkins heavy. I mean, you went 8-2 with him, and then 3-4 without him. Don't get me wrong, the Marquise Brown trade will help. It'll definitely make that offense more serviceable. But who do you think is more important, Marquise Brown or Chandler Jones? I think for the positions they play and the roster that the Cardinals have, I think Chandler Jones being lost is more important than Marquise Brown being gained. Because, sure, does Marquise Brown replace Christian Kirk? Is he an upgrade over Christian Kirk? Is he going to make your offense better? Yes. But I when if DeAndre Hopkins obviously doesn't play, yes, your offense is a problem. But assuming he will, I don't think offense is your problem. I think J.J. Watt being hurt, and for some reason people thinking that, as much as I want to, and I think J.J. Watt's an absolute dog. When he's healthy, he's a dog. He could be probably a top 10 pass rusher if he played all 17 games and was 100% healthy. He has that big good of a motor, and he just has that much energy to burn and to kill, and that's how nice he is. But I just I don't see it happening. I think that Isaiah Simmons is good, but I think that personally, I think they made a mistake not putting him at safety because I think telling someone to bulk up is, I think it's a lot harder to get an athlete and make them stronger than try and like get just a strong dude and frame them down, if that makes sense. Like, I think if you have speed, you want to keep that as long as you can, especially on the defensive side of the ball, being that a lot of your job as a defensive player is to react to someone. And reacting is all about athleticism. How can you right? Can you here all that stuff. That's all that's athletic stuff. And as you get bigger, it becomes harder, right? For anyone. I mean, hell, you look at me, I'm 280. I could probably do things a lot easier 5 years ago than I could now. Um, so I think they could have benefited from putting him there and then just trying to get a serviceable middle linebacker because I think a top tier safety is more important than a top tier middle linebacker, in my opinion. But that's just me, especially being a pass first league. I think safeties are a lot more important. And but at the end of the day, I think that the Niners are going to win this. I think our run game is going to control the ball, just kind of like I expected to happen against the Chiefs. And I think this will be I think this will be an interesting game, but I still think we'll handle pretty well. I think we'll get like 2 possessions, maybe like a touchdown and a field goal. But I see us winning this game as well, Week 11, bringing us to 10-1. All right. With that being said, now let's get into Week 12. And Week 12, we have the New Orleans Saints coming to us in Northern California, and I see us winning this again. I mean, 11-1 sounds crazy, but I mean, I don't see the Saints being one of the losses that you could add to us. I mean, Cameron Jordan, yeah, he's nice. 12 and a half sacks, tied for seventh in the league. Always going to be a consistent outing for him, and always someone that you can rely on to get a good pressure and just be a threat every time he hits the field. Demario Davis, one of my favorite linebackers in football, top five in my opinion. Um, he's definitely someone to be interesting to keep an eye on when watching them play. Tyrann Mathieu, that's a good pickup for him. I'm intrigued to see with them picking up Marcus May as well after losing Marcus Williams. What happens to Chauncey Gardner Johnson, CJ. I like CJ, and even though he plays strong safety, I think one of them, I think him or Tehran, would do good moving to free safety. I know you just signed Marcus May, but I think if you trade him, even though that's probably not the most realistic, I think if you can get CJ and Tehran on the field at the same time, that's your best safety duo right there. But I digress to that. Marshawn Lattimore, he's definitely going to be a good outing. Easily get lined up against Debo. And Marcus Davenport, a D lineman who stepped up last year at a UTSA. Someone who is exciting to watch, definitely a pass rusher. Got a little more finesse where Cam Jordan's a bit more of the aggressor. But again, two good pass rushers will always get you a chance to win a football game. But our offensive line is capable of handling two pass rushers, and I think we're just going to run them to death. They have a good run game, but I just I believe that Demario Davis is going to struggle. I mean, he is 33 years old, and he's going to have to deal with an interior offensive line that's younger and that's a bit more hungry and aggressive than it was last year. So I just think that we'll be able to handle their defensive linemen, and at the end of the day, who do they have on offense? I mean, yeah, Alvin Kamara is good. Michael Thomas is sure-handed, but I mean, he's not a threat. The only person who could really sweat me out of this game is AK. I almost said AK-47. Sorry about that. But no, outside of Alvin Kamara, I mean, who am I really worried about, right? So yeah, unless Odell went there. If Odell went there, then man, that's an episode and a half on New Orleans. But I digress, because that would be a cool moment. All right, with another win under our belt, bringing us to a 10-1. Looks like Week 13 has Miami pulling up on us in Northern California. And I mean, again, I'm sorry, I don't see Miami beating us. Like Miami to me is just like Carolina, except they're probably going to win more games. They're an interesting team to watch. They'll be fun to like I say watch just based on the players they have. Um, in my opinion, one of the best corner duos in football, and Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. That'll be good, but it sucks for them that we're not a pass first team. Uh, but one thing talking about passing is those receivers will be definitely enticing to watch. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. Um, Sometimes we'll forget that it's a football game and it'll feel like a track meet, just seeing streaks all day. If only Tua could throw that far, right? But good thing he can't. And yeah. So not really much to talk about this, in my opinion. Just other than, I mean, they have a couple guys that'll be fun to watch. Like I said, Xavier Howard, Byron Jones. I'm a big fan of Jerome Baker and Emmanuel Ogba. So those will be two linebackers that'll be fun to watch. But other than that, I think this is a pretty easy game. This Chicago and Carolina, I think, are going to be our pretty easy potential blowout games this year. All right, now that we're 12-1, let's have another home game. Week 14, TB. That could be the team or the player itself. Tampa Brady, the Buccaneers coming up to us in week 14. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I could give you stats, I can give you reasonings, and this is probably where you're gonna laugh at me and be like, this is really where you give your team a loss. But yes, I do. Um, in the offseason, if you guys weren't paying attention, Tom Brady actually wanted to leave the Buccaneers and join the 49ers. He's from San Mateo, California, so it makes sense. He watched Joe Montana play at Candlestick Park and all that, so he wanted to retire with us, which makes sense. And do I think we should have picked him up? No, but I can understand why we would have, and it would have probably helped us last year and the year we were at the Super Bowl and all that, but I don't think we should sign him, but I think it definitely would help us if we did short term, even though I don't like thinking short term. Um, But again, I think Tom Brady being told no is it's kind of like Jack from The Incredibles. You're just gonna turn him on fire, and I just think he's gonna absolutely torch us. There's no real stat I can give, except Tom Brady is the number one player in NFL history. Um, I think he's just gonna go out there and say, "Screw you guys. You don't tell me where I can and can't play. I told you no. You didn't tell me no, right?" And he's just gonna absolutely cook us. Um, I don't know how, but I know he's gonna do it. Maybe he throws for like 200 yards, but has like 6 touchdowns, or he has like 500 yards and a couple of touchdowns. It's not gonna be a pretty game. I think this is gonna be the one game where we all look at each other and we're gonna be like, "Man, are we fake?" Because that's Brady. That's a nice player, and I don't like getting nice players pissed off, and we did that as an organization. So nice work. Following our Week 14 loss at home versus the Buccaneers, I have us going next week, the following week, Week 15. We're going to Seattle to play, and like I said before, we've lost 4 games in a row to them, and they obviously have our number. So as much as I want to say that we're going to take this game, I don't think we are. I think Pete Carroll's going to pull something out of his sleeve, um, and I think something's going to happen to where we just won't be able to shake him this year. It happens to the best of us, but hey, the green's still ugly, and that neon is never cool. So I have us losing in Week 15 to Seattle, bringing us to what, 12-3. Now that we're 11-3 off of our back-to-back losses, week 16, the Commanders, also known as formerly known as the Washington Football Team, formerly known as the Washington Redskins. That's funny to say, and I will stop saying that for a while. The Commanders come to play us up in NorCal, and I think this is a pretty easy game too. I think the Commanders have potential, and I think that based on how their first half of the season goes, I might be tempted to go back and look at this and be intrigued to see there being a better argument for them winning. But um, I all it is potential. It has to be realized. Antonio Gibson, underrated runner. I like him. Terry McLaurin, really good receiver. I think he might be a tad bit underrated, but I also think that part of it's just the market that he's in. It's tough when your most popular, your most well-known player is your owner, former owner, right, Mr. Snyder. Good looks on him. Um, Although I do like their offensive line, I will say that they could be end up being one of the top 5 offensive lines in football. We'll see. But yeah, a bunch of those names I saw on there I like. So don't don't be surprised if Carson Wentz doesn't get tackled a lot. Will he throw a lot of picks? Maybe, because that's what he's known for. But will it be due to pressure? Not from the front five. Not from the front five. Uh, yeah, and how about that front four, right? I mean, Chase Young, Deron Payne, and what is it, Jonathan Allen? I mean, those 3 are animals. I mean, and it's tough that they lost Matthew Ioannidis, but I mean, they still have Ryan Kerrigan, so that should be it'll be good for them. So yeah, I think that with all that being said, I think that they can't get out of their own way, and I think Carson Wentz is going to hinder them. So unless the potential is realized, I just don't see them being able to put it together to beat us. Um, Yeah, I think that's a game where Debo Samuel. I think this is a game where you could see Debo Samuel getting like 2 touchdowns, a buck 20, a buck 30, and just absolutely terrifying corners again, being like, oh, that's right, he is a receiver. He could do more than just run jet sweeps. All right, all right. Now it brings us to our penultimate game of the season, where we go to the I'm sorry, the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, do I miss saying Oakland. Um, the former Battle of the Bay. Now I can't think of a creative name on the spot, but I'll work on that. Um, yeah, I think we'll take an L here as well. I think this team stylistically matches up well against us. Again, I said Derek Carr isn't a better quarterback than Jimmy G. I had a good fan slash friend of mine, file a huge complaint and make an argument. Did he have some fair points? Sure, he did. Do I believe him? No. Um, but outside of Derek Carr, you have Josh Jacobs, you have Darren Waller, You have a good. Oh, that's right. You guys got Devontae. Let's not forget about him. You know, the number one receiver in football. In case you were wondering why he's the number one receiver, 123 catches, second in the league. 1,500 yards, third in the league. 11 touchdowns, fifth in the league. If Cooper Kupp didn't basically have the single greatest season as a receiver, Devontae Adams again would be talked about unquestionably number one and all this stuff, and he still is unquestionably number one, but maybe not as much spotlight as he's gotten before, just due to Cooper Kupp's season. But yeah, I think that with that being said, plus having Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, I think that is going to match up well. And I think that as long as your run game can play the way that it should, because I saw that the Raiders averaged under 100 rushing yards per game last year, and I was a little surprised by that because I'm a fan of Josh Jacobs and I like power running, so I'm surprised it didn't work. But maybe Josh McDaniels can sprinkle that up a little bit because him obviously being around Brady, he's going to make the pass game better. But I mean, they go hand in hand, right? Like if the pass game's better and the players start backing up, there should be more room in the front to be able to create running holes, right? And then if the running game gets good, vice versa, it becomes a game of ping pong that you love playing, right? So I think they match up well with us. I see this as a game where Josh Jacobs can ball and have a good moment, and I think that the front seven for the Raiders could really get after Trey Lance this game and use their two top tier edge rushers and just cause hell. Because one you can handle, maybe like an edge rusher, an interior lineman you can handle. Two edge rushers, you saw it with the Rams. Like eventually they're gonna make something happen, and you just all you could do is say, "I can't blame you." Like you tried, like Lincoln Park, you tried so hard. In the end, it didn't even matter. So that's gotta be frustrating. I would know, but I wouldn't. Right. Congratulations, you made it to the last game of the season. It almost kind of feels like football, doesn't it? It's super long until you get here. Then you're like, man, it's already over. That sucks. But yeah, last week of the season, we have the Cardinals coming to Northern California. And honestly, I see us losing this game to the Cardinals just because I believe we're going to split the series with them. But I also know that we have a really bad tendency to lose one home game a year where we all look at each other and say, what's going on? So I think this will be the game. Not to say that the Cardinals are a bad team, but the last game of the year at home going into playoffs, everyone will kind of be nervous that we lost this game. And I think it'll affect us, but I'll talk about that in a later date and time. But yeah, I see us just losing this game against the Cardinals here. I think it'll be a close one. Part of me even thinks that we can win it, but I think we'll just be edged out a little bit. Yeah, I think we're gonna split the series, so I think both teams will take the away game. Right on. Thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. So it looks like based on my stats and my analysis, the Niners are going to be going 12-5 this year. Do you think it'll match up with finishing number 2 seed in the NFC or maybe even winning the NFC West? You guys let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. Thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like the content that you like hearing. And I'll be posting another episode next Thursday at 6 p.m. Until then, stay cracking, people.